All right, we are live here. Hi, everyone. Don't know how many people of you are watching live here, but welcome. This week, welcome to this week's live stream. It's been a long while. It's been a long while since I last streamed. It's been a long while since I covered some COVID-related topic. But anyhow, today I want to break down a recent review article published a month ago in June. So I'm going to show you this article here. So this article, with a quick glance, all right, with a quick glance, it has a very alarming title and key findings, right? A systematic review of autopsy findings in deaths. And after COVID-19 vaccination reveals about 73.9% of deaths were directly due to or significantly contributed by COVID-19 vaccination, right? So that is like the first line highlight. And this article was published, peer reviewed, published on June 21st, okay, about a month ago. So let's break it down, right? Let's look into what this whole paper all about. Just looking at the highlights, it's very alarming. Is it really that? So what does that mean? Let's take a quick look there. All right, here is I pull some data from the article and just so that I can present a little bit easier. First, we need to understand this is a peer-reviewed, published systematic review. All right, systematic review means it pulls a lot of articles from the literature and look for common themes and report that. Okay, very systematically review a specific topic. It is not a clinical study. Okay, first of all, we need to understand, but nevertheless, it is peer reviewed. Right. So what they did, okay, what the authors did. So here is the summary of the methodology. So I'll just briefly go through what they did. The authors searched the database. The database called PubMed and Science Direct. It's host. It's like a Google for all the medical or health related or health science related type of articles, and they look for all autopsy reports that is related to COVID-19 vaccination up to May 18th, 2023. And so they included any studies that where a person had received a COVID-19 vaccine before dying, and these COVID-19 vaccines were not limited to the messenger RNA, the mRNA. They included all the major COVID-19 vaccines available globally, okay, including the two China-made inactivated whole virus vaccine, and AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson adenoviral vector vaccines, and as well as Moderna, Pfizer, BNT messenger RNA vaccines. So let's be clear, this paper did not just target the more controversial messenger RNA technology, okay? Now, so in this review, okay, three independent physicians, they don't talk to each other, but they reviewed each case and determined if the vaccine was the direct cause or significantly contributed to the death. All right. So they screened out 678 studies that fits their initial search parameters. Okay, search parameters. And then what they did is that they find 44 articles out of the 678 that met all the inclusion criteria that fit their study, and covering a total of 325 autopsies, okay, from the 44 articles. And in short, okay, they believe 240 cases of the 325 autopsies were directly linked to vaccination. This is where the 73.9 came from. Okay, so now let's break down a little bit of who they are, how old they are, what happened, what did they get, right? So let's look at it now. Just a quick note here. Of the 325 people that were pulled from the 44 study, or the autopsy report from the 44 studies, the average age was 70.4. So sort of old, not old, right? Okay, let's look at it a little bit deeper. Right. Now, so the most affected body system of the 325 autopsies was the heart and blood vessel, cardiovascular, 49, about half of it, followed by blood related, okay, hematological means blood, 17%, lung and breathing, 11%, and then multiple systems, 7%. And of the 21 cases, three or more body systems were affected. So it's pretty, wide extent. Now, and on average of the 325 autopsies, the average people died after, it took about 14.3 days after vaccinations, and with most deaths happening within a week of getting the vaccines. Right. Now, at this point, we're not saying that that's any related yet. Okay, just out of the 325 fit the search criteria. Now let's break it down. Okay, break it down into the 240 cases. Okay, that the doctors believe or determined that the vaccine will directly cause or significantly contributed to death. Okay, what are the cause of death here? So of the 240 cases, the main causes of death were sudden heart-related deaths, 35%, clots in the lung. Okay, pulmonary embolism means blood clots in the lungs, 12.5%. Heart attack, 12%, and then a conditions related to causing blood clots and low platelets called VITT, about 8%, myocarditis or inflammation of the heart, 7.1%, and then multiple organ system, 4.6, and then bleeding in the brain or hemorrhage is 3.8%. Okay, so that is the breakdown of the data. So you may wonder which type of COVID-19 vaccine was most likely linked to these autopsies, right? So because they didn't, identify a specific one, but they did pool all the vaccines that were available at the time. So there's no clear cut. Okay, there are no clear cut, unfortunately. And let's look at the table breakdown here again. So it's a little bit complicated, the table, but I'll talk you through it. So most of the individual who were died had received Pfizer BNT vaccine, 41%, followed by Sinovac, one of the China-made whole virus, inactivated whole virus, 37%. Now, this is not targeting anyone here. It is just because these two vaccines were most available and the most given globally worldwide. Okay, that's why you're more given, you get more percentage. That is simple as that. Followed by AstraZeneca, okay, received by 13% of individual, Moderna 7%, Johnson and Johnson 1%, Sinopharm 1%. So it's pretty much the same, in a ballpark of how many of these vaccines were given globally. So Sinopharm, Johnson Johnson were the least, and they were the least, at 1%. So that's following that trend there. Now, among the 240 deaths that were identified to be linked to the vaccination, 46.3% had received Sinovac vaccine. So actually went higher. Okay, we're higher than Pfizer, BNT, 30.1%. And then the trend followed again. AstraZeneca were 14.6, Moderna 7.5, 1.3 for Johnson and Johnson, and Sinopharm 0.8. So the rest of it followed the trend. So it's really just the number of vaccine given at this point. There's nothing mechanistically explained to that. So you can see that every COVID-19 vaccine available globally had associated death, according to the three independent physicians that reviewed the data. And the percentage breakdown is almost the same as the percentage of the total studied autopsy. This is why I said that we don't know from this study that we don't know which vaccine was the major cause and did not target any specific one per se. Now, but there is one thing in common in all the COVID-19 vaccines, right? No matter it is in activated form or in whatever denatured form or coated form, we know that it has some form of spike protein, and that is what is needed for the body to generate the immune response. So the common factor here is the spike protein. So it almost felt like that's going back to square one, right? Years ago when people debated, the toxicity or the potentials, what could happen with the spike protein, and this is sort of giving you a theme, a hypothesis, maybe in a way of speaking. Okay, now let's look at the final piece of small data that they calculated or concluded. Okay, so of the 240 cases that were linked to vaccination, the average age of death was 55.8, and the average time from vaccination to death was 11.3 days, 3 days with a median. So this is quite young. I don't know if what you think, right? Let's regroup here. 55.8. It's definitely younger than a lot of the life expectancy in their respective countries. So just in case I didn't put here, so where are they from? They're from all over the world. Okay, from all over the world, both more industrialized or more developing countries. They're all over the world. So all these cases. So it's not exclusive to any particular country. But 55.8 definitely sounds young, right? So now but one thing to be clear, this is autopsy report. At that point, they didn't tell us, the general health status of these associated deaths. Those could be very sick people to begin with. We don't know. Those could be having other conditions. We don't know. So that is something to be noted. So to be noted there. But there's other theme is that most associated death were due to cardiovascular problems, right? 35% of those 240, and then about 50% of the 325 total autopsies there. Now, what we know is that at this point, myocarditis is a real concern with messenger RNA vaccines, right? And we also know that COVID disease itself can cause the heart problem. It can lead to heart problems. So again, there is some common theme here. It sort of remind me of well, actually, it's really in like a reminiscence of what some of the prominent cardiologists from the US, from the UK were speaking, early days, talking about, potential harm from the spike protein. So I guess maybe it is time, right, for us to put more attention to back to the spike protein, back to the drawing board, and now because the disease is not as urgent as years ago. One very important message I do want to point out. So that doesn't get hijacked. I didn't say anything wrong. This article did not say that, hey, there was 73.9 chance of death after vaccination. That is not what it means. Even though it sounded like that. Okay, sometimes English is funny, but once you look at the data, it's not what it means. It only showed that 73.9% of the 325 autopsies that they pulled from studies were associated with COVID vaccinations. Okay, so that is what it means. Right, the study did not suggest which COVID-19 vaccine may be safer or more dangerous. It's just a pure pooling of data there. There's no mechanistic explanation of any kind. And the most important takeaway message is perhaps what in my opinion is that for doctors and scientists not to dismiss the possibility of vaccine associated deaths. I've seen many comments over the last few years describing personal unfortunate events associated with the vaccinations, and sometimes I see some certain denial by care providers. I think that is very unfortunate. I personally do not see patients, but I do hope clinicians will spend more time looking into these and explaining to patients in the future, or if ever again, and just not dismissing patients' griefs and families' griefs. I think that is most important here now that we are not in this urgent phase. Okay, so that is a pretty short data. I really pulled out the most important things to share with you all. So thank you very much for tuning in. And now let's take a look of the chat here. The core message is done here. If you don't want to hang out here, that's fine. But I do want to take a look of some of the my core viewers. Okay, core viewers, good morning. Good morning, Jonah. Okay, good morning, everyone. So very Apothecary, thank you. Yeah, I hope this article is helpful. Okay, explaining some of the key findings here. Uh, okay, thank you for pulling some of the extra information there. Italian researchers mentioned in research that they assume reducing ACE2 would be a solution. So, yeah, so ACE2, being the receptors for spike protein to bind, it is theoretically very possible way to do it. And also, there is certain studies, I think maybe more in animals, maybe certain people taking certain chronic drugs may have a reduced ACE2 expressions that may also affect the severity or the chances of getting the disease there. But so I'm a little bit not as closely follow as years ago. You can tell, but I yeah, it's good to know these things. Good morning, old school. Thank you very much as always. I know it's early for you. Thank you for tuning in there. Um, Okay, Robin. Okay, thank you again. So you're one of those always comes on person here. Thank you. Um, of what of those? Yeah, this is whatever is published is whatever published. Sometimes uh simply says that the autopsy report it's not nothing related. So that's why they screen out originally 600 and some studies, right? That's quite a good number. And then but then after looking into screening out, the final inclusion criteria only came down to 44, not even 10% of what they initially searched. So there's a lot of nuances in there, but again, it's a very conservative way to look at it, right? So they didn't go liberal. They're very conservative to look for studies that is really really tied to it. I think that is a good way to approach. Um, yes. Yeah, so it will we'll see a little bit more now. I guess overall the message here is that we're studying more back to the I feel like it's a little reverse right these days. Like we we know a little bit. Let's get everyone vaccinated, and more controversial term is like get mandate everyone to get it, right, almost at a point. And then now that okay, let's study. So it's a little bit reverse in order. Usually things don't happen in this way, but I feel really bad for people that suffered either disability or death from this whole time. But it is an unfortunate time, and only history will tell in like maybe 10, 20 years look back, things maybe have a different perspective. So anyhow, so thank you very much for all the little chat message there. If you've noticed there, I'm posting more crafted general health long videos about once or twice a month. Those takes more time to produce, and I do have editors help me to make it a little bit more nicer. And I'll stream COVID topics once a while when I see a worthy of discussion topic. Shorts. I post a lot of shorts these days, just more like fast food, quick snap things, interesting health facts, trends, and just to clear up some of those. Hopefully, it's not misinformation, right? It's just I always pull articles, supporting all the information that I give here. So I know again, thank you very much, all of you here that are still staying and listening to my chat there. I know everyone, pretty much everyone, discovered this channel during the pandemic, and I'm so thankful for everyone who continue to watch and support the channel there. Um, okay, thank you. Glad to see everyone. Glad to see you, Robin. Glad to see you. Uh, yes. Glad to see you, old school. Yes, I always read messages. Okay, I always read it, even though I just overlooked. I may not be able to reply or heart it, but I always read. Especially these days, I don't get as many comments as days and years ago. So that's even giving me more time to read through all of them. Okay, that is everything for today. And I hope everyone have the rest nice evening, day, depending on where you're watching or when you're watching. Okay, take good care. Take good care. And okay, need to know. Okay, take good care, and I'll catch up with you later in other forms of videos. Okay, bye bye.